I remember me and this waitress, we went into the walk-in cooler because we had to spend 7 minutes in there. And I remember once we got in there, she said, honestly, Bubba, like, I always thought you were, like, super cute. Like, what? Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another really embarrassing, but I gotta say, crazy story. This story all takes place back when I was in grade 12, or technically speaking, I was actually graduated high school. So I was straight out of high school. I was 18 years old, and to be honest, at this time, the only thing I focused on was my future and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. But back after when I graduated high school, I ended up working at a restaurant because, well, I wasn't a content creator yet, so this wasn't a full-time thing until you guys made it happen, which thank you guys so much for that, by the way. But going on with the story, I worked at a restaurant for a bit, and I remember I actually really liked it. The restaurant I worked at was very laid back, and it was really kind of just chill, and a lot of the people I worked with were also super young, around my age. And even though our managers were a lot older than us, like I want to say in their 30s, about to hit 40s, they would basically be super laid back, trying to be cool kids like us, apparently, or to get to relate to us. I don't know, a lot of adults do this, which is really cool in my opinion, but at the same time, it could lead to a lot of trouble. But I remember one time when I was working a shift, out of nowhere, I ended up seeing my manager walk up to us saying, hey guys, in the kitchen, real quick, I got an announcement. We're going to be doing kind of a after party on Friday, very late at night. If you guys are able to make it, please tell me. We're going to be trying to have everyone that works here together and closing down the restaurant for it. At this moment, a lot of us were like down for it, obviously, and we were all pretty excited to see what was going to go on. But as for me, I'm going to be honest with you, I was kind of on the fence about it because I didn't really get along with anybody, nor did I really like socialize with anyone at the workspace. I mostly just kept to myself because, well, I don't know, it was a very stressful time back when I was just graduating high school, and I didn't think too much of it. So while all the guys in the kitchen that I worked in ended up going up to the manager, signing up their name, I remember after my shift, I ended up basically getting ready to leave, and while I was at my locker getting ready, my manager ends up walking in saying, hey Bubba, you're the one guy in the kitchen that didn't walk up to me trying to join this party. You're not down to join in? Like, what's going on with you, man? I don't know. I got a lot of things going on, I guess. I don't know. I might go. I'm not really sure. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, Bubba. A lot of the girls in the front of house want to see you there. So my opinion, just show up, man. It's good for work. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't surprised that he wanted me to go, but when he said the front of house wanted me to go, that's when I was kind of shocked because I didn't really speak to any of them other than when I had to put like glasses away at the front bar. So at this moment, I was like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, sure, I'll show up, I guess. I'll make an appearance. Okay, awesome. I can't wait to see you there. And he ends up walking away. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Even though I told him that I would show up, in my mind, I actually really did not want to show up. In my opinion, I was probably gonna just say like I had a final I had to study for or something, because at the same time, I'd rather just be home playing video games instead of hanging out at work. Like, I don't know what kind of people like to stay at their workplace and hang out, but definitely was not for me. So I remember the next day, I ended up basically going into work, and I decided to just do my normal shifts because I usually worked around 4 shifts a week. But then I realized when I went to go look at the schedule that the schedule has changed, and I ended up getting a closing shift on Friday. Now, once again, like my manager said earlier, Friday was the party. So no matter what, even though I was closing, afterwards would be right away the party. So at that point, I was like, you know what? There's no point in me leaving and just calling in sick because I'm going to be there anyway. So I remember Friday rolls around, and I remember I ended up basically working the shift. And at the start of my shift, I started to realize that there was a lot of people that I worked with just hanging out the whole time when I was working. It got really annoying because they would order food and then I would have to make food and then wash their dishes. It was just really upsetting. But then right after, as the restaurant closed fully and basically they were all getting ready for the party, I was basically cleaning up the kitchen as fast as I could to see if I could sneak out of there and not get noticed. But right as I was about to finish cleaning, out of nowhere, I ended up seeing a waitress that I worked with end up coming to the back and saying, hey Bubba, are you done? Because everyone's ready for you and waiting for you actually. Wait, everyone's waiting for me? Well, yeah, it's the party, dummy. Like, aren't you gonna come hang out? Now at this moment, I'm not gonna lie to you. The waitress that was talking to me that worked at the front of house was really attractive, and honestly, I probably could use a good distraction. I basically tried to make my mind up and make it a good idea to go to this party. So me still being in my uniform, I ended up going to the front of house and I ended up hanging out with everyone, and it was actually a pretty good time. Even though most of them were a lot older than me by like a year or two, I will say this, it was really fun hanging out with everyone, kind of getting along with people that I never really talked to in the workplace. But then I want to say this is where things got really weird, because I remember our manager, like I said earlier, he tries to act young and basically try to be cool. And right after he finished with this bottle he was drinking, he ended up standing on top of a table at the restaurant. He ends up yelling out, all right guys, let's play spin the bottle. At this moment, I remember it was so funny because all the kitchen staff, including me, were just looking at each other, and then all the waitresses were just kind of hyped up and excited. And me, I'm just kind of thinking like, is this really a good idea? Like, do you really want to poop where you eat? Like, is this safe? Is this even something I should bring up to HR because like it's our manager saying it? I don't know. I didn't want to play, but then obviously our manager started pushing all of us towards this table, and we all sat down, and he got on top of the table and started spinning the bottle. I remember all of us just ended up staring at that bottle, basically basically praying that it wouldn't land on any of us. But one by one, people started going into the cooler and basically, you know, doing the 7 minutes in heaven, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically when you spin a bottle and wherever it lands on from the person spinning the bottle, they have to spend 7 minutes with that person in a private room, and anything could happen in that 7 minutes. And by anything, I mean anything. So me, I remember I basically saw a lot of people spinning and going in and out, and it got to a point where it got pretty boring for some people. But then out of nowhere, I remember there was a girl that ended up spinning the bottle, and this girl was the girl that actually came to the back of the house back when I was actually finishing up my shift, and the one that invited me into the restaurant for the party. She ends up spinning the bottle, and me, I'm just sitting there just like seeing this bottle spin around and around and around until it finally ended up landing on me. She looks at me in shock, but at the same time, not like a shock like she didn't want to do it, in a shock like she was ready to take me back there. And I remember I stood up while everyone was like going, ooh, and I'm just kind of panicking, thinking, okay, you know what? This will be in and out. Just maybe we could just talk about work and just move on. We go back there, and instantly, right as we enter inside the cooler, she looks at me and says, Baba, you know, I've always kind of like thought you were cute, right? What? I mean, I don't know. I'm just playing the game, okay? Just go along with it. Well, I mean, like, it's supposed to be 7 minutes in heaven. So are you like being honest with me? And at that moment, she ends up coming really close to me, and she actually ends up making out with me. And while one thing led to another, I'm not gonna lie, I never did the devil's tango. Less than 7 minutes until that day. I remember right afterwards, I ended up basically putting on my uniform again, and she put on hers because we were both working the late night shift. And basically, we ended up coming out, and we ended up going straight into the restaurant where everyone else was. And when everyone saw us come back, this girl was like perfectly smiling while I was like coming in, basically kind of like in shock, kind of what just happened. And it was very obvious to everyone that she got some. And I remember my manager ended up walking up to me saying, yo, Bubba, did I tell you you're gonna enjoy this party or what? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I felt super uncomfortable that my manager said that to me. But not only that, the next couple weeks leading on from that happening, I am not joking, my manager would always bring up that moment. And this girl, she would always, and I mean always, try to hit me up, ask me on a date, all this stuff, to the point where I ended up actually just quitting. I ended up quitting the restaurant job because, well, there was so much drama that would happen, and I guess that's what happened when a lot of young people end up working at the restaurant. I don't know, my opinion, don't poop where you eat. This is a common saying that everyone needs to understand. But I mean, if you guys would date someone you're working, then follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.